Hi guys, this is Max, and Max, I would love for you to share your story.
Yeah, sure thing. So, hi everyone, my name is Max. I'm turning 17 by the end of the year. Currently, I'm studying in IT College East under Community Care and Social Services. Now, my story began on a very usual night, on a Thursday night, on August 23rd, 2018. I was on my way to DAS, a Dyslexia Association of Singapore, and somewhere along that line, I went in as a normal kid, but I came out as someone different. Reason being, it was because on that night at 7 p.m., I experienced what's known as a memory lapse. In other words, I have lost nearly 10 to 15 years worth of memory and experiences. So ever since then, I have been trying my best to be on par with my peers, and I have been trying to find ways to tell my story to the rest of the world, or to at least change some people's mindset. Because along the way, I have learned various things. In that same year, I found out that I was diagnosed with dyslexia, a learning-based difficulty, and Asperger's syndrome disorder, which is a behavior disorder which affects how I behave. So upon learning all this, obviously it was a bit of a hindrance to me because I have a memory loss at the time, which, to give you a bit of context, 5 weeks after that memory loss is my secondary three end of year exam. So I have 5 weeks to prepare about maybe over 10 years worth of academic knowledge. And to learn that I have dyslexia and Asperger's at the time clearly did not help my case. It does add a bit more challenge towards it, but it does make it more fun in the long run. So I found it difficult to learn English, mathematics, science, find it difficult to build rapport and relate to my classmates. So most of the time, it was very difficult to maintain friendship back then in secondary school. Thankfully, in Diamond Secondary, I have met a lot of amazing teachers who gave me another chance, who trusted me and my story and really did all out above their pay grade to make sure that I was on par with my peers. However, along the lines, I was fortunate or unfortunate enough to pass 5 out of 8 subjects, therefore making me graduate into secondary form, which is the start of my story. In that start of the year, I experienced a few mental health issues relating to anxiety, and I did slip a bit into, not say a bit, but I did have my fair share of depressive episode, whereby I began questioning, with national exam coming, it's not fair. Why do I have to lose my memory? Why can't it be someone else? Why do I have to experience such bad mistakes? Did I cause anything to deserve it? But somewhere along the line, I realized that it's useless to debate, it's useless to argue, to complain. What's done is done, right? The only thing I can do now is move on. So that's what I did. So graduated from Dharma, moving into IT, into post-secondary. I've learned throughout my 2 years, just over 2 years of living, of being alive, I've learned various lessons about what does failure means, or grades, expectations upon yourself, resilience. I've came to learn about all these kind of things, which I soon found out that all these lessons were actually forgotten among my peers. And I thought that I took it upon myself to do my best to play my role to remind people of various things, such as failure is not the end. The only hatred or the only haters you experience is yourself, and that the opinions of others really doesn't matter in the long run. Whether it's your friends or your teachers telling you that you can't do it, it's up to you to decide. As Henry Ford once said, whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. So that's why I am today.
Beautiful story, beautiful story. And
Thank
I,
you.
I really think that misfortune, of you wiping out your memory was actually the rebirth of your life.
It is. It is.
Right. It makes
Yeah.
you really, really stand out as compared to other peers your age. Every kid out there in the streets, I was included, focusing on grades and grades and grades. But when you articulate your story, when you speak, there's a lot of values, being demonstrated. And that's the same thing, the same mission I'm fighting for as well. I want to lead millennials to be more value driven.
Of course. Of course. I mean, there was a quote from the business world. In the business world, there was a quote that said, "Every crisis is a birth of an opportunity if you are willing to open up to it." You know, and I think that applies even in COVID situation. That applies to everything we do in our daily lives.
Yeah, I'm just curious as well. When you mentioned that you wiped out at least 10 years of your history, your past. Even basic mathematics, it was hard for you.
I couldn't even understand. I didn't even know school was a thing. The concept of school was abstract to me. I didn't know at the time. I just woke up. My folks say, "Where these? Go here." I'm like, "Oh, okay. I'll change. I'll go now."
But you remember your folks?
I only remembered my mom, my dad, and my younger brother. So my grandma, my aunts, my cousins, gone. My friends, my teachers, my modules, gone. So I had to relearn everything from the start.
Yeah, talk us through the entire process of the relearning part. Share with me
relearning part
in details.
All right, so so the whole memory loss thing happened. To give you a timeline, the whole memory loss thing happened on the 23rd of August. So I went back to school on the Friday, and then the following Monday. However, on the Monday, I had a bit of a headache episode, so which caused me to have a bit of a fainting spell, which got me admitted. So since we're there, might as well figure out what's hold this memory loss thing. So I was admitted in the hospital on the 27th for about a week. So from the 27th all the way towards the next month, in a way. And during that time period, I knew that I didn't have much time, because by the time I got released from the hospital, I have about 1 month to prepare for my examination. And of course, I want to do well. I don't want to be treated any differently. I don't want to be unfair to my peers. So I did my best to learn as hard. But what I was learning from an academical base, I also wanted to learn from the social norms, the ethics. So I learned things, everything from the way people talk, table ethics. I tried to learn as much of the norms as I possibly could, because one thing about Asperger's is that, so Asperger's syndrome affects everyone differently. So how it affects me may not affect someone else, but my Asperger's makes it difficult for me to understand social norms, and social cues. So at the time, while I was studying for my academics, I told myself that, yes, academics is the goal, but it's not the end goal.
Yep.
The end goal is to try to be, not say normal, but to find myself or to have some level of identity. So I tried my best to learn as much social norms. I tried my best to learn as much of the internet, any table etiquettes or social cues, anything of such during my time spent in the hospital. So in the morning, I will go for tests run by the hospital. Then in the afternoon and night, I will try to learn as much as I can and try to catch up with the schools, like the school curriculum.
I can imagine the hunger to get back to feeling normal again. And that kind of drove you. Would you say so?
Actually, I would say in a way, the hunger didn't really drove me, it catapulted me.
Wow.
Because once you gotten the satisfaction, I mean, think of it from my point of view. You don't know anything. You have 5 weeks to prepare. Your peers have like 10 years of experience. You go up for the exam and suddenly you did well. You passed 5 out of 8 papers and you did almost as good or if not better than some of your peers.
Yeah.
So that adrenaline, I'm not saying that, oh, I'm boastful, I want to boast others, but rather in a sense whereby, hey, if you're disciplined, if you're determined, you can actually do this.
Yes.
And then it got me thinking, how far can I take this to go?
Lovely.
So if I can if I can drive myself to get this score my exam, how far can I catapult myself into it? And that's where I am today.
Yeah, lovely. Walk me through a little bit more your dreams and aspirations.
My dreams and aspiration, in terms of materialistic wise, my dreams and aspiration is to be financially free. Reason being is because, unfortunately, we live in a very consumerist society. So what that means is that you have to buy stuff, you have to do this, you have to do that. So money is an essential nowadays. It's as almost essential as food and water. So without money, you can't do much. So of course, the most materialistic one is to have money, because with money, I can get resources to help others.
Yep.
But that is not the main goal. The main goal here is to, although it's a bit young for me to say this, but is to leave behind a legacy or to leave behind an impact. Because throughout my time growing from day 0 of my memory loss till now, I've noticed various things, such as how youth are so obsessed over grades. They are so bothered.
I can't hear you. You got disconnected.
So sorry about that.
No worries. So just now you're saying that most students are very, very bothered by grades.
Yes, because from day 0 to now, I've seen a very common trend among youth, specifically our perception of certain things. You know, we are very grade oriented now. We believe that if you have a paper, you have a good life. You know, we believe that failure is the end, or failure is a toxic thing. You know, we perceive that we have to live a certain way, or we have to say that you have to get jobs that are good income for in the last 10 years. But the last 10 years, a lot of things have changed. You know, so I noticed that there was a lot of common misunderstandings regarding our perception and our mentality over certain things. And as an outsider, someone who lost their memory and relearning this, when I stumbled upon this, my first thought was, wait, why?
Yeah.
Because what I learned during my time to learn is that, first of all, grade is not everything. You know, we have seen countless amount of successful people who can do well without grades. I'm not saying that grades is bad. I'm not saying grade is not the end.
Yeah.
You know, there's more to it than meets the eye. You know, and I also see things like how failure is a toxic thing, which it perplexes me because you can't succeed without failure. You know, if you ask me, success, the definition of success is just repetitive failure. That's what success is. So that to me was a rather confusing thing at the time, because why is so many people failure, but is choosing or admiring success when you both are essentially the same?
Yep.
So when I stumbled upon this, I took it upon myself that, hey, I want to do my part to at least change the paradigm on some of these topics. You know, things such as mental health, or things such as special needs, all these kind of things. I want to try to do my part to change our perception on these kind of things, to hopefully give the future youth, you know, the future visionaries, something that they could lean on. Because admittedly, purely based on my opinion, admittedly is that we do listen to our parents, and our parents do mean well, but a lot has changed between then and now. You know, and it almost, some of the things they taught us are a bit redundant in this day and age. Maybe a degree may be useful, being a doctor or being a lawyer is the only way to survive back then. But now we have online marketing, you know, we can digitalize everything now, you know, and so long as you got good skill, whether it's drawing, whether it's editing, whether it's talking, singing, dancing, you can monetize off of it. So now you no longer need to be a doctor or a lawyer to get things done. You can do it your way now. So after seeing all these, I realized that, hey, is there anything I can do about it? You know, can I use my story in a way to share it? Because when I grew up in Dunman, in my secondary school, I realized even at 15 years old, even my juniors, they have no idea what they want to do. They have no idea who they want to be. They don't know what they stand for. They don't know what their future is. They are lost. They have no sense of identity. And I realized that, hey, that is very similar to my story, except mine is more literal than figuratively. So I was like, okay, I know roughly where I stand. I know my ambition, my goals. I know what I want to do. So in a way, I have kind of found my way out of that question of who am I?
Yeah.
So can I use my story to, in a way, use it as a catalyst to let others know that there's no specific way. You know, I'm not saying if I can do it, you can do it. We all have our own problems, and our problems are all very subjective, right? But all I'm saying is that there is a way out. You know, it's not the end. You can do it, so long as you are disciplined and determined to go for it. Then you can get what you want. So overall, my whole goal, my whole niche is very abstract. It's very wide, you know, but in certain level, it also has certain depth towards it as well.
Love it, love it. And you're definitely getting a head start because you're only 17, and the level of maturity that you have is just, it blew my mind. That's the truth.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, really, really. And one thing that I'm very curious about is that how's your family, you know, how did your family deal with it in that situation?
The memory loss thing, obviously, just like any other parent, because growing up as a child, I was never the type to thought that I would have a memory loss. I wasn't the type to think that I was gonna get stressed, because my parents was not the type to focus on grades. My parents were the type to focus on character building and attitude and beliefs. So grades were never the top priority. So there wasn't much stress emphasis on that. So when they found out that I have at first when I came back from tuition from DAS, they thought that it's just like a mind sleep. You know, I just need to take a nice nap, wake up, and it'll all be okay. But the moment they knew the severity of it was when they asked me to change my uniform, and I couldn't tell which was my uniform.
Oh shit.
So at that point in time, from their perspective, you have a son who's been to a school consistently for the last 3 years, suddenly has no idea what his uniform looked like.
Yeah.
That is something serious right there. So at the point in time, it's something that they knew that something was wrong, and so they they didn't really send me to the hospital first. They wanted to, in a way, try to see how much I forgotten, and it's too last minute. I still have to go to school, so I go to school and determine the severity of the damage or the depth of the memory loss. So obviously they will be in denial. They were questioning how is it possible, because when the doctors told them that the memory loss can be due to stress, I'm not saying it is due to stress, but it can be due to stress, they were questioning how is that so, because growing up, I was not in a very stressful environment. You know, my parents are not going through divorce. I have a good relationship with my brother. Academics was not the main deal, so why would I be so stressed?
Yeah.
Yeah, so because of that, they started questioning. They realized that, you know, before my memory loss, my previous self, I kept a lot of things to myself, that I have high expectations for myself. You know, I believe it's due to accumulative workload, due to accumulative pressure from my own self or stress, that it caused me to have a memory loss. Yeah, so even now we realize that even that itself was a lesson to be taught, that, you know, among you, just because they seem relaxed, that does not mean they are relaxed. You know, you don't know what's going behind the curtains. You know, and we have things such as mental health thrown into the place, things like social isolation, depression, expectations, perception, all this kind of thing when thrown into place, it really makes you wonder what is that person thinking of.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was roughly what my parents thought of. They were very in denial about it, they were in disbelief, and in a way they felt almost at fault, because I guess from their point of view was that as a parent, it was their responsibility to take care of me. How could they let such a thing happen?
Yeah.
So they felt very guilt-ridden. They felt as if they were responsible for it, even though no one is responsible for it. And they were really in shock and disbelief. But after a while, after a couple of weeks, they eventually accepted this as how it was. And, you know, instead of dwelling on the past, they say, okay, let's work from now. Let's start with what we have now and create new memories, right? No point trying to forge old memories. Let's try to create new memories. So that was where I gotten the drive of letting go of the past and focusing on the future.